Welcome to another episode of Stamped. This is episode 10. I'm your host, Samuel Patrick. I am joined today by Kiki.D. What's happening, Kiki?
Thank you, everybody, for being with us. It's episode 10. So it wouldn't be possible without you all. And it is a big, mighty number to even speak on. So I'm feeling excited to see what this episode is about. Long time coming.
Absolutely. We made it this far. 10. It's real. We
Yes.
weren't sure. We were just going to test this out and see what it turned into. And it seems
Right.
like it's here to stay. So I'm happy about that. And what you said is true. We would not be here without y'all, whether it's our
Right.
members that support us or whether it's the artists that send us these submissions. If you've been a long time listener, watcher, viewer, commenter, all that, thank you. I appreciate you. If it's your
Yes.
first time, welcome. We are making some changes in this episode, so you are going to see some new stuff if you've been here. If not, let me just lay it out for you. In the past, we were just getting submissions. We still get submissions all the time for LFOD radio, for our newsletter, etc. Any artist who's interested in submitting can just hit lfod.life/submissions. In the past, we would go through those submissions, and Kiki and I would pick our favorites. We bring them to the show and we just talk them up, talk about, what we liked, celebrate them. Sometimes there'd be a little disagreement and we'd explain maybe what we didn't like or places where we thought it could improve. But we realized there's a lot of artists who really could use and really would want some more constructive feedback. So by only picking our favorites, we're not really giving people as much room for growth. So at our last episode, we announced that going forward, submissions would be paid for Stamped. And along with that, artists would get guaranteed feedback, but it's going to be constructive. So if we don't like your record, we're going to tell you why. So that being said, I'm ready. And please, another thing too, now that we're really putting our opinions out there,
Yes.
if you disagree or you agree, hit us in the comments. Get in those comments, or you can add us at LFOD Life. It's right across the bottom. So let us know what you're feeling. If we're wilding, if we're accurate. If you got one more thing, it's new. We're also going to pick our favorite tonight. Only one favorite. In the past, we liked everybody. We're crowning a Stamped champ tonight. We're going to crown a new one next month, and we're going to keep it rolling like that. But so take notes. See if you can predict who we're going to go with. First up, though, I need to give a huge, huge shout out to Duke Washington because we put this out there. We hadn't even really started the promo yet. We were like, okay, we got to get this in front of people. He saw the episode or maybe he just went to the website, but he hit us with a submission like right when it dropped. So shout out to Duke Washington. Blue Hundreds is our first Stamped submission in the new series going forward. Super thankful. Appreciate you trusting your music with us and taking this leap, because now, we're going to show these other artists, what this is all about.
I don't wanna have to break your heart to change it all. We said some things, I said some things. I know we still don't communicate. It's a lot. It's the reason why we grew up and took them losses. Cause we do day. That's why I'm focused. It's the reason why my mind's wide open and I need more than you give them right now. I need someone to lift me up and keep me down. Cause I still might fall through, still might call you, still got love for you. Let's just roll up, come through, spin Blue Hundreds, still reminisce. Had some dreams one day of us getting rich. I had thought of doing up the dealership. What it's gonna take for us to make it lit.
All right. So you brought up the melody right away, so I'll let you kick things off.
Huge shout out to Duke Washington because speaking of kicking things off, that's what he did for us and the LFOD team with the Stamped series, right? Being episode 10, again, it's a big accomplishment for us, but definitely a big spotlight is being put on Duke Washington for a reason. Not only for being the first to kick things off, but I mean, I want to see, like you said, any people who disagree in the comments. because otherwise the melody within the first 30 seconds is just something to really appreciate. My constructive criticism that I would give for the song after hearing it would be it's a bit of it has a bit of a lack in structure in the writing a little bit, but it's not obvious, especially the second time around. The third time around, it's just something where the artist can consider that. But aside from that, my opinion on that song is that undeniably he nailed it with the melody. He picked the correct beat and that flow. I can see in a club. I can see in an elevator. I could see it. I can hear it in a lot of spaces. How did you feel, Sonic? How did you feel?
Okay, so I agree. I love the hook. The melody is real nice. I really enjoyed it. The first thing he said was, I don't want to have to break your heart to change it all or to change at all. And like to start it with that really resonated because it's like something needs to change and he's not trying to hurt anybody. You know what I mean? And it sucks.
Right.
And sometimes we end up at these crossroads with people where it almost feels like that can be the only way forward. And that's a crappy feeling, you know?
Right.
So my criticism is maybe a little more critical. I did like the hook and I liked parts of the song.
Okay.
And for me, the thing there, and to be clear, he sent the song, not the video. So we included the video for a little bit extra, but I kind of feel the same way about the video as the song in that it didn't quite match and I was kind of confused at times. So I can tell dude was going through it. And overall for me though, it just wasn't focused enough. So like when I really think about it, I don't actually even know what the song is about. Like I know it's about his relationship, but he's talking about the full range of the relationship. And this is just one song. I think if he picked one aspect to focus on, it would be incredibly strong. Like for example, the bridge at 2 minutes, 19 seconds, he starts talking about see the light, dancing all the time. That's the first hint we even get that she's a dancer. And for me, it almost even changes the hook and what that could mean. So like, is he falling through the club to chill with her? Is she coming over after? Another thing on the hook, I like, you know, the blue hundreds is like the double entendre, you know, like they're sadly spending their money. But even on that bridge, I feel like maybe it went a little too long and that could be cut and a little more focused. If it dancing all the time, he had gone right into the hook. I did like the vulnerability on it and the honesty in his writing. And that's one reason I'm giving him all this, because I think if the concepts are tightened up, it would go a long way. To me, there's like 3 different songs in here. Some parts he's talking about how they're not speaking anymore. Other parts he's saying how I know wherever I go, you're going to be by my side. So like there's all these different aspects of the relationship. And I think if he picked one and tightened it up with that melody and that writing, whoo, I think this would be out of here. That's my thoughts, you know?
Okay. My thoughts right off the bat. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Like waving and stuff?
I just did, but I look at the camera so that I'm looking at who I'm talking to. So I don't actually look at the screen.
Oh, nice. Oh, so, okay. Because like in my view, I can see you.
Yeah, it's a little.
And myself. I can
little
see
Zoom
both of us.
gem. Yeah, you try to look at the camera whenever possible.
Interesting. Well, I was waving, so I thought that would have been something where you would stop.
No, I'm also reading, but yeah.
Oh yeah, interesting. I mean, that's what I love about podcasting and stuff is everyone has their own setup. But no, I just curious. I just was only wanting to interject at the part where you were like, you felt like he was vague, pretty much, right? And that is something right off the bat I've heard before as a common critique of artists, and I like how at the end you kind of pieced it together and that you said, oh, you found out that the girl was maybe a dancer and all this stuff. It's like, to me, I hear that and I'm like, that's good enough. That's nice. He did what the Blue Hundreds need to do. But I just want to point that out as like an interesting, pattern that I've seen, and I wonder if Duke Washington has anything to say. Any other viewers have anything to say? But that's the first thing that came to my mind, and why I was waving, because I wanted to say that part.
So for you, it was not too vague.
Yeah, to me, it was definitely one of those like, "Hey, come spend time with me" type of songs.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I think that's what it was, but for me, it was just so much going on that I'm trying to think of how he could get to the next level. And I think if it was like packaged in like a super tight way, packaged, I hate to use that word with art, but if it was like that, it could resonate more. My other thing too, it's a long song, and like I think it was half as long. If it was half as long, I wouldn't have felt necessarily that way. But for like longer records, I think you need more of a switch up in general, sonically between the hook, verse, etc., to keep the listener engaged. Like even though he had different parts, for me, it all was sort of running together throughout.
Okay.
But I did like that there were different bridges. He switched up the flows. He did different things. It just, to me, I think he could split that into 3 songs and have 3 totally different records about that relation. Make a whole album about that relationship. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Versus trying to get it all into one place.
Got it.
That's my thoughts. Duke Washington. I enjoyed the record. I liked it, and it did grow on me as I listened to it. I'm just trying to give you the biggest bang for your buck here,
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts before we move on to the next record, Kiki?
That was all. I'm ready for the next one.
All right. Well, shout out to you, Duke Washington. One more time, I appreciate you reaching out. I appreciate you tapping in with us, and look forward to hearing your response to our response after this.
Facts.
So next up, we have a longtime homie of the show, Jaiden Wav. I met him at, I don't know, some rap show years ago. He was around, and then he started tapping in with us during our Instagram live phase during 2020, where we were live on Instagram every Tuesday night instead of on the radio. And he would just tap in, say what was up with him, share his story. So I got to know him through that, and so I have a little bit more peek in the background of him than Duke. But he sent us this record, which I believe is your introduction to him, Kiki.D. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
So this one here is called Fried Broccoli.
But if we've met before, I apologize.
It happens. Oh my God, it happens. We'll So Fried Broccoli right here. And we're going to get into this, and we'll be back with some comments after it. You tune in to Stamped.
Don't see nobody stopping him. Don't see nobody topping him. Rolling up at the red light, they stay copying. Has wealth that no money bring. When he down, he start running things. Seen a life has some better things. Shorty a diamond, no wedding ring. They told him, stop with the modesty. Got the hottest track, honestly, constantly killing it flawlessly in the matrix. And we can all see, Jaiden, you an anomaly. Trying to kill the hypocrisy. Got a fear of mediocrity. Stays inside, cooling out. Sipping with his queen in a winery. Velocity waves out. Uncontrollably, uncomfortably, unconsciously, expressive with veracity. Kush slows his animosity. Quintessential quantifiers quality. Could never possibly not bother him. Could never possibly not bother me. Emotional life's an epic odyssey. Smoked out on foreign policy, politics, snuffing out his constancy. All these artists gossipy, always bringing him comedy. Energy has always been a part of him. He is here to raise up his colony, build his own monopoly. Happy days making it go around. Some go down, have trouble with balance in life's atrocities. Boil the noodle, fry up the broccoli. Guess who?
Jaiden Wav, everybody. Fried Broccoli. You want to kick us off again, Kiki?
Shout out to Jaiden. Shout out to Jaiden Wav. Shout out to your notes. I like the boiled pasta, fried the broccoli line. Definitely a nice way to say this is why I chose. This is the title of the song type of thing, and I felt that whether it's a dish that he always looks forward to eating or one that he cooks himself, you just lines like that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. I didn't like the song overall, though, so I'll pass it off to you and see what you feel about it as well.
Well, can I ask what you didn't like about it?
So the flow, was okay at some parts, definitely off in most, and overwritten. The other song that we just played, I'd say it was overwritten a bit, and that's why I described it as something that was lacking song structure. But with this one, it was way more obvious, and it was one of those songs where it's like, okay, cool, you know how to rhyme Monopoly with whatever. Yeah. Um, what did he what did he rhyme Monopoly with? Either way,
Yeah, property
hypocrisy,
probably. Yeah, epoxy. Yeah,
hypocrisy, like that type of, and
comedy.
that's
Yeah,
colony. It's cool and needed, especially in this genre, right? We're tired of hearing the same words, the same styles, but as they say, sometimes the same exists for a reason. What's your thoughts?
word. I also really liked boil the noodle, fry up the broccoli. For whatever reason, the way that was delivered was cool as hell, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I pictured myself. That's like I eat that a lot. I love broccoli,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
always making stir fries. So that definitely stuck out, and maybe it's because that was kind of a breather from the rest of the song.
Yeah.
So similarly, I guess we can talk about the flow, because for me as well, the flow wasn't quite working in the first verse, especially. I hear what he's going for, and that's what kind of gets me. It's like super close at times. There's a way to do it and make it work for this song. He said it was his first take at the beginning, so I don't know if this was his first take. If it was, maybe like hit it again a few times, because there's a way to do that and make it work. But as now, like the breaths to me are coming in the wrong spots, and it's making it jumpy, because this is a style of rhyming, right? This spill, this flood of words. People aren't going to catch most of them the first time, the second time, even ever. But if you're going to do this, it still has to be smooth in its own way. So like you can zig and you can zag, but you can't hiccup, if that makes sense. I'm picturing like whitewater rafting as I listen to this. It's a lot. It's the pace has to keep up. So there's little parts, like even the wedding ring part was a spot where if he hadn't taken a breath there and he had just delivered it in the same flow, that would have worked. And then he could have taken his breath and kept going. But he introduced this break and then popped back and then had another break and came back. And then other parts, like where he said his name, Jaiden, like there were parts where I could tell what he was going for, and it was wicked close. And he's close to having this flow, but I didn't think he quite had it before he went in. The second verse was the best for me, flow-wise. It reminded me a lot of Blue, if you're familiar, especially at the end. And it was just a tighter flow throughout. I think it's one he was more comfortable in. You know what? I'm surprised you didn't pick up or point out. You threw out a song in like our first episode because the guy avoided an obvious rhyme and like tried something different. And immediately when I heard Jaiden say prophecy and then say stopping him instead of stopping me, I was like, oh, Kiki's out. Like, that's it. So that was interesting to me. The first verse, he broke the rhyme immediately. And then he went back to the him, me thing at the end of the verse. So I feel like it has to have been on purpose. And like, it could be a bigger point about dissociation, or maybe he's trying to talk about multiple people. But to me, it wasn't enough of the focus of the song to make it worth doing, especially because if he had stuck with me, the whole verse actually rhymed with me pretty much, except for like 3 or 4 bars, which he also didn't rhyme with him. So to me, I think he just made it more difficult for himself with that choice. I think he was going for something, but I don't think it quite paid off how he wanted it to.
Right.
I like that I had to smoke, but I don't want to line too, you know?
Yeah.
Jaiden Wav. I hope that helps, buddy. Because I see exactly the type of song you're going for here to write, but I think it just wasn't quite there. And there's actually one thing you did really well, which is a point to Duke Washington that I would make. If you listen to the hook, that's an example of what I was talking about, where things change sonically. on the hook so that it stands out and makes a difference. Even though he's still flowing a lot, he's now added layers and he's changed the structure of the song by doing that. And it's easier to tell where the hook and where it isn't. Where on Duke's song, you actually aren't sure until it comes back around again that was even the hook. It could have just been an intro.
Right.
So those are my thoughts.
Got it.
Appreciate you sending that in, Jaiden. And appreciate you, Duke. So we're switching gears here. If you are an artist, LFOD.life/submissions, that's where you can send us your records. And you can submit, to be clear, for free. It'll get submitted for LFOD radio, for our newsletter. We share things on social media. It's just a good way to introduce yourself. You might get some commentary back in there. Maybe we know a better place for you to send your music, or maybe we have an opportunity for you. It's how we start the interview process. It all starts right there. You'll also see an option after you submit to get into the stamped competition, I guess we'll call it. Even though you're going to get feedback, whether you make it to the competition, whether you're a finalist or not, we're going to give you some quality feedback, and we're going to give you some social media ready content to share. We're going to introduce you to our audience. We're going to give you clips. It's going to be worth your while. So if you want to hit that up, LFOD.life/submissions. That's how we heard these records. So those were our first 2 stamp submissions. We had Jaiden Wav. We had Duke Washington. A nice start. We had some positive, some negative. We had constructive pieces for everybody. And so I'm excited to get this to you so y'all can check it out. And I'm really excited to see y'all take steps as artists. Whether you agree or disagree, it's going to resonate in some way. And going forward, I know your next song's going to be better than your last song. And that is all that matters. As long as you are expressing yourself and your truth, you're going to be all right. We're just here to give you the tools to maybe communicate it in a way that reaches as many people as possible. But first and foremost, make the music for yourself. That's what matters most. And then, people like us can give you our opinions from time to time. Kiki.D, though, we must pick our favorite here tonight. Who's getting stamped?
Duke Washington.
I would agree. We're going to give you the stamp, Duke Washington. Congrats. First submission ever. First official stamp champion. Are we calling it the stamp champion?
For now.
For now. Everything's a work in process. Hey, episode 10, monumental. History has been made. No one can take that away from you. You're in the books now.
Yeah.
I really look forward to hearing back from both of y'all and what y'all thought of our feedback. Kiki.D, any closing messages for the world?
Well, I thought of how, for one, Duke Washington went from number 10 to number 1. So again, big shout out to him. Also, it was cool getting an idea of your setup and whatnot. I mean, I felt like the the viral video, no shade, and like the Elmo and all these dolls that have been ignoring all these kids. I was doing that type of wave. So that was hilarious. I only thought about that like 4 minutes after. So it wasn't in the moment where I was feeling it, but afterwards I was like, wow, this is funny. Yeah, stay off of social media, people, because this is what's gonna happen. In your real life, social media thoughts will pop up in your mind. But yeah, aside from that, great episode, and shout out to the people who are a part of history for episode 10. And I look forward to getting back to the basics, listening to some new music with fresh ears, listening to Blue 100 and a lot of others. So all the names that you've been hearing, you're hearing them for a reason. Let's keep going.
All right. So shout out to all y'all. Once again, it's LFOD.life/submissions if you want to tap in with us. Everything we got going on is at LFOD.life. That's the website right there. You can catch Outside the Algorithm, LFOD Radio. We have a newsletter we drop every month. If you want to join and become a member, we're actually well over 500 members right now. I'm amped to report that to y'all. So if you want to become a member, it's free. It's easy to do. You can sign up right on the site. You'll get extended interviews, exclusive content. We also have a higher tier. We call them producers. And we call them that because they literally co-produce these episodes with us and they help make this possible with their support. So when you see the credits roll at the end, you're going to see a bunch of names. Huge shout out to y'all. Huge shout out to all our members for making this possible, all the artists for making music and making this possible. Thank you, Kiki.D. If y'all have any questions, comments, anything like that, hit us at LFOD Life. Let us know how you're feeling. We'll be back with episode 11 in September. Until then, peace.
Peace.
Positivity is a better movement. Let us do this. Level up and get into this evolution. Revolutionary math and music. Get us choosing everything but less excuses. Shout out to the kings and queens with everything to lose. They never lose it.
There's so much glory in the